Welcome to the channel, where we unravel the raw, unspoken truths of love and betrayal. I'm Daniel, and this is my story. A tale of a laugh that shattered my world, a secret that tore me apart, and the quiet strength I found to walk away. It all started on a foggy Tuesday evening in late October 2024, in our downtown Seattle apartment. The damp air clung to the windows, blurring the city lights into a haze. I was sprawled on our leather couch, scrolling through emails after a grueling day managing logistics at the port, when I glanced over at my wife, Elena. She stood by the hallway mirror, adjusting her emerald stud earrings, the ones I'd bought her for our 5th anniversary. Her auburn hair caught the glow of the pendant light, and she looked stunning in a navy coat I'd never seen before. "Who are you meeting tonight?" I asked, my voice soft, tinged with a hope I barely recognized. Her hazel eyes met mine through the reflection, and then she laughed. A cold, sharp sound that hit me like a slap. "Since when do I need to check in with you, Daniel?" she said, her tone dripping with mockery. "I'm not your employee." That laugh echoed, a cruel melody, as she grabbed her purse and walked out into the misty night. The radiator hummed, the fog pressed against the glass, and a sinking feeling rooted deep in my chest. I knew then that something was terribly wrong. That moment replayed in my head as I sat there, the apartment feeling emptier than it ever had. Elena and I had been together for 7 years, married for 4, and I'd spent the last year ignoring the cracks. The late nights she blamed on her graphic design clients. The way her phone stayed silent, screen angled away during dinner. The faint scent of cedarwood cologne on her scarf, a scent I didn't wear. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking. But that laugh, it wasn't just dismissive. It was a confession. She didn't care enough to hide anymore. I stood up, the couch creaking beneath me, and walked to the window. The fog outside was thick, swallowing the streetlights, mirroring the haze in my mind. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass, my breath fogging the pain, and let the truth settle. I wasn't her priority anymore. Maybe I never had been. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our king-sized bed, the left side untouched, the sheets still smelling of her lavender lotion. City lights filtered through the blinds, casting jagged shadows on the ceiling. I thought about the last time we'd felt like a team 2 summers ago, driving up to Mount Rainier. Her head rested on my shoulder as the sunset painted the sky pink, her voice warm as she whispered, "This is perfect." We'd laughed then, her hand squeezing mine. That memory felt like a ghost now, haunting me as I stared at the empty space beside me. I grabbed my phone, opening her social media. Nothing new, just a photo from last week. Us at a friend's barbecue, her arm around me, her smile wide but her eyes distant. She'd said she was meeting a client at the Nest, a rooftop bar downtown. But I'd seen her laptop earlier, a calendar notification, dinner at the Pearl with M. No client, no drinks, just a name, M, and a place we'd celebrated our 1st anniversary. My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading like wildfire. I tossed the phone onto the nightstand, its screen glowing briefly before fading to black, and buried my face in the pillow. The lavender scent mocked me. The next morning I made coffee, black, bitter, the way I liked it when I needed to think. The kitchen was silent except for the drip of the machine, each drop echoing in the hollow space. I leaned against the counter, the cold marble grounding me, replaying every moment of the past few months. The excuses, the half-truths, the way she'd stopped looking me in the eye when she spoke. Elena came home at 7:30 a.m., her coat slung over her arm, her makeup smudged but her smile intact. "Morning," she said, breezy, as if she hadn't been gone all night. She didn't ask how I slept, didn't notice the dark circles under my eyes or the way my hands gripped the mug too tight. She poured herself orange juice, the liquid catching the morning light, and scrolled her phone, her fingers tapping a rhythm I wasn't part of. I watched her lips curve at a message, her laugh soft this time, belonging to someone else. It was the kind of laugh she used to save for me, intimate and warm. My stomach churned. "How was your client meeting?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. She didn't look up. "Fine," Just boring work stuff. A lie as easy as breathing. I sipped my coffee, the bitterness matching the taste in my mouth, and knew I couldn't ignore this anymore. That's when I stopped pretending. I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. I started small, observing her habits like a detective in my own home. She'd leave her phone on the counter when she showered, always face down, notifications off, glancing at it as if expecting a message she didn't want me to see. She'd lock the bedroom door when she changed, the click of the lock a quiet betrayal. I remembered how she used to change in front of me, laughing when I'd compliment her, her cheeks flushing with a shy smile. Now, that door was a barrier, a reminder of the wall between us. I noticed her patterns. The way she lingered at the mirror, applying lipstick she never wore for me. The way she packed overnight bags for work trips that never appeared on her shared calendar. One night, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. $1.50 for dinner at a restaurant she'd never mentioned. Dated the same night she'd claimed to be at a yoga class. I held the crumpled paper, the ink smudged but the truth clear, and felt a cold resolve settle in my bones. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. I downloaded an app on my laptop, one that could mirror her phone's location when it connected to our Wi-Fi. Felt wrong, invasive, but so did her laugh. My hands hovered over the keyboard, hesitating, my reflection in the screen showing a man I barely recognized. Tired, hollow-eyed, desperate for the truth. I clicked install, the progress bar creeping forward as my heart pounded. The app pinged her at the Pearl that night, then at a hotel in Belltown, then back to the Pearl. Each ping was a stab, a confirmation of what I'd feared. I sat at the kitchen table, the laptop screen casting a blue glow across my face, watching the dot move across the city map. She came home at 1 a.m., her hair mussed, her lips stained with red wine, the scent of cedarwood clinging to her like a second skin. "Long day," she muttered, kicking off her heels, the sound echoing on the hardwood floor. I nodded, my jaw tight, my fingers digging into my palms. I didn't say a word. I saved the location data, each timestamp a piece of the puzzle. I cross-referenced it with our joint credit card statements, my eyes scanning the numbers like they held my sanity. $300 at a lingerie store I'd never heard of, dated a week before her solo retreat. $700 for a consulting workshop that didn't exist online, the same day she'd claimed to be at a client's office. $2,500 for a weekend at a boutique hotel in Portland. She'd said she was visiting her cousin. Her cousin, who'd posted about a family reunion in Florida that weekend, smiling with her parents on the beach. The betrayal wasn't just in her lies. It was in how easily she'd woven them, how confidently she'd expected me to believe her. The evidence was piling up, but it wasn't enough. I needed to hear it from her, or from whoever was. I started checking her things more carefully, my movements quiet, deliberate, like a thief in my own home. I'd wait until she was asleep, her breathing slow, before slipping out of bed to search her purse, her coat pockets, her desk drawers. I found her second phone a week later, hidden in the lining of her gym bag, the fabric slightly torn as if she'd shoved it there in a hurry. No passcode, just arrogance. I sat on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m., the cold tiles biting into my knees, and unlocked the phone with a swipe. The messages hit me like a freight train. M was Marcus, her old college friend who'd come to our wedding, who'd toasted to our future while I smiled, clueless that he'd one day unravel it. There were others too, Client J with messages about late-night meetups at bars I'd never been to, and Evan, who wrote, "You're too good for him, babe. Just leave already." Her reply, "I will. I'm just waiting for the right time." Waiting, like I was a chore to be checked off, like I was a placeholder. I scrolled through the messages, my throat tight, my chest heavy with rage and grief. There was a photo, her in a black dress, smiling at Marcus in a dimly lit restaurant. Her hand on his arm, her eyes sparkling with a joy she hadn't shown me in years. I remembered that dress. She'd worn it to a charity gala we'd attended, her laughter filling the room as we danced. Now, that memory felt tainted like everything else. I sat on the edge of our bed, the phone in my hand, reading her words over and over. Daniel's clueless, she texted Marcus. He doesn't even suspect. My hands didn't shake. My eyes didn't blur with tears. I felt cold, hollow, like the man I'd been had been carved out and replaced with someone new. Someone who wouldn't beg for her to care. Someone who'd make her regret underestimating me. I backed up every message, every photo, every call log, my fingers moving with mechanical precision. I wasn't going to use it in court. This wasn't about winning. It was about reminding myself who I was, who I could be without her. I thought about the future I'd imagined for us. A house in the suburbs, maybe a kid someday, lazy Sundays with coffee and crosswords. That future was a lie, a dream she'd never shared. I stood up, the phone still in my hand, and walked to the window. The fog had lifted slightly, revealing the faint outline of the Space Needle, its lights a lonely beacon in the night. I wondered if she was out there now, laughing with Marcus, her hand on his arm, her lies keeping her warm. I called her best friend, Kara, the next day. I pretended I was planning a surprise getaway, my voice light despite the weight in my chest. Is Elena still doing those art gallery nights with you? I asked, leaning against the kitchen counter, the phone pressed to my ear. Kara hesitated, her voice tight, almost nervous. She hasn't been to one in months, Daniel. I thought you knew. I did now. That was the final piece. I thanked her, hung up, and sat down hard on a bar stool, the air rushing out of me. Kara's words confirmed what I'd known, but hearing it from someone else made it real. I stared at the countertop, the marble streaked with veins of gray, and felt a shift inside me. I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was a man with a mission. I met with a lawyer that afternoon, a sharp woman named Rachel who reviewed my evidence with a raised eyebrow. You've got enough here to ruin her, she said, her voice matter-of-fact as she flipped through the screenshots. What do you want to do? I leaned back in the chair, the leather creaking, the office smelling of coffee and paper. I want out, clean, fast, and I want her to feel it. Rachel nodded, her pen scratching against a notepad, and I felt a flicker of hope. Not for us, but for me. The plan took shape over the next few days. I opened a new bank account, redirected my salary, and froze the joint card she used for her client dinners. The process was methodical, each step a small act of reclaiming my life. I sat at my desk, the laptop open, the bank's website glowing on the screen, and felt a strange calm. She noticed within a day. Daniel, the card declined at lunch, she said, her tone annoyed, like I'd inconvenienced her. She stood in the doorway, her phone in her hand, her hair in a messy bun. I shrugged, staring at my laptop screen, my fingers hovering over the keys. I'll call the bank. Probably a glitch. I didn't call. I let her figure it out. I let her feel the first crack in her perfect little world, the first hint that her lies weren't airtight. I watched her from the corner of my eye, her brow furrowed, her foot tapping impatiently, and felt a grim satisfaction. She had no idea what was coming. I thought about the man I'd been, the one who'd planned picnics in Gasworks Park, who'd stayed up late helping her mock-up design portfolios, who'd believed her when she said, "I love you." That man was gone. I remembered a rainy afternoon 2 years ago, when we danced in the kitchen to an old jazz record, her laughter filling the room as I spun her around. We'd ended up on the floor, a tangle of limbs and giggles, her head on my chest as the rain pattered against the windows. That memory used to make me smile. Now it made my chest ache with a longing I couldn't afford. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. I started packing up my life in pieces, each item a step toward freedom. A box of books here, my favorite novels stacked neatly, their pages worn from years of reading. A suitcase of clothes there, my sweaters and jeans folded with care, each fold a quiet goodbye. I moved quietly, methodically, while she was out working late. Her absence a gift I hadn't expected. I didn't want a scene. I wanted control. I wanted to leave on my terms, with my dignity intact. Let's pause for a moment, listeners. Have you ever felt that shift? When you stop hoping and start planning? When you realize the person you trusted most doesn't deserve you? Share that turning point in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found your strength. The night I left, Elena was out again. Another client meeting. I stood in our apartment one last time. The fog outside thicker than ever. The city lights blurred into a haze. I packed my last bag. My laptop, my favorite jacket, the external drive with every piece of her betrayal. I left a note on the kitchen island. Written in black ink on a single sheet of paper. I know everything. Divorce papers are on the way. Goodbye. I didn't sign it. She didn't deserve my name anymore. I checked into a hotel near the waterfront. The sound of the waves crashing against the pier lulling me into the deepest sleep I'd had in months. The next morning, I sent an email to Marcus's fiancée, Cara, and Evan's wife, whose name I'd found through a mutual friend's social media. I didn't attach the evidence. I didn't need to. I just wrote, "You should know who you're sharing your life with. Check their phones." I hit send, leaned back, and exhaled. The truth would do the rest. Elena called me 15 times that day. Her voicemail started confused, then turned furious, then broke into sobs. "Daniel, what is this? Why are you doing this? We can fix it." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The divorce papers arrived at her design studio the next day, delivered by courier during a pitch meeting with a big client. Rachel had timed it perfectly. Elena texted me after, "You're destroying everything. You're a coward." I saved that message too, a final reminder of who she really was. 2 weeks later, I saw her at the apartment, collecting her things. The movers had taken my half of the furniture, the oak bookshelf we'd bought together, the dining table where we'd once hosted friends, the lamp she'd picked out for my birthday. The place looked gutted, a skeleton of what it had been, just like us. She stood in the middle of the living room, her coat hanging off her shoulders, her eyes swollen. "You didn't have to do it like this," she whispered, her voice trembling. I leaned against the doorway, a mug of coffee in my hand, the steam rising like a ghost between us. "You didn't have to laugh," I said, my voice steady. "You didn't have to lie." She didn't respond. She couldn't. Her world, the one she'd built on secrets and mockery, had crumbled. I walked past her, out into the foggy morning, the city waking up around me. The air smelled of rain and salt, a new beginning I could taste. I wasn't broken. I was whole again, and her laughter would never haunt me again. Dear listeners, if this story stirred something in you, let's keep the conversation going. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my shoes? How did you reclaim your life after betrayal? And if you want more stories of heartbreak, healing, and quiet justice, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let's uncover the truth together on Cheating Stories Diary.